Our second video on Arduino Parts, what we are going to be using here. We have different options, or we've got different parts on here that we are going to be using as we go through the kits. It'd be nice if you knew the names and the symbols involved with that. Of course, we're going to start out, we have the Arduino Uno board with the USB cable. We plug in through this one, through this port here, and we plug in. We do all our programming and other things like that. This is our breadboard. This is what we use for our solderless connections. If you're to use one of these jumper wires, you can just basically just place it in, and you don't need to solder. You don't need to do other connections. They just connect in. It's a way we can kind of prototype. We can find if a circuit will work before we actually put it all together and solder it. Starting over here, we have resistors. Resistors basically slow the electricity down. These will be ripped out and pulled apart and put into the breadboard. It like reduces the voltage. It allows it so circuits don't get fried, or it basically slows the voltage. This right here, this is called a potentiometer, or pot for short. This is also a resistor, just like this one. As it's a turn knob, it's a push knob, and so as you twist it, it changes the voltage. We've got two different sides on here. We have a positive, we have the negative, and then our input comes through this part right here. So if we're going to be sensing the change in voltage, we need to pull off the center here. But once again, it goes from a positive to a negative, or negative to positive, I can't quite remember. But it allows to change the electricity, allows us to like dim lights, or just to adjust some other things, adjust the speed of a motor. It's basically a variable resistor, and we can kind of read that voltage that comes out, and we can do something different with something else. This is a battery connector, just can hook to a 9-volt battery. This right here is called a transistor. It's like a switch. Our Arduino only allows 3.3 to 5 volts to go through it, and if we want something that pushes a higher voltage, we need to use a transistor. If we use something like a speaker, if we want to have a loud speaker or something to really blast the sound, we use something like this. It basically interrupts the circuit. We have like, if we have a speaker, we'll have the main power going into the speaker. We'll go into one side of this, and then we'll go out from the other side to the ground, and the middle one is connected by the Arduino. And if we put a little bit of voltage, like without any voltage, it stops all electricity until we add a little voltage here, and then allows the big electricity to go through. We can use this for speakers, for motors, anything that we need to increase the voltage that we usually don't want to run through the Arduino. This right here is called a RGB LED. And that stands for red, green, blue LED. This LED is a light, and it'll allow us to basically have the rainbows, the colors of the rainbow, by changing the voltage to the different pins. You notice you have it extra long, one very long lead, and then we have 3 other ones that are a little bit shorter. The long one is the ground. And that's necessary because LEDs only let electricity through one way. This right here is just a regular LED. We've got different colors of LEDs. LED stands for light emitting diode. And this is where we have all our lights, or blinking lights. A diode itself right here, a diode is basically like a one-way valve for electricity. Electricity will go through one way, but it can't go through the other way. And depending on the stripe, it'll tell you if you can go one way or not. There's a stripe right on the edge here on one side. This right here is the photoresistor. Just like these other resistors, they slow down electricity. And just like this potentiometer, it's a variable resistor. So depending on how much light is on this, it allows a different amount of electricity to come through. So if there's no light, it usually doesn't let any voltage through. As more light hits it, more will come through. This is a push button. It's a momentary switch. You push it and it'll click. We have 2 different contacts here, and they're 2 separate switches. So when you push it, it'll electricity through here and here, and it'll let electricity through here and here. They don't jump across from here to here. It's just from one side to the other. You've got 2 of these. The next one is a relay. A relay is also like a switch. It allows high voltage to go through. We could actually run our house volts on this. This is the symbol for the relay. If you notice, there's a coil, like a squiggly line. This is an electromagnet, and so the Arduino will be hooked up to this electromagnet part, and then the high voltage, depending on how we want to do it, it may be connected on here, and we can choose either side. So there's two different sides. One is normally on and one is normally off. So if there's no electricity onto this, it's going to flow this way. If we use the Arduino to charge up the electromagnet, then it'll make the switch click over, move up, and it'll then connect up to here, and then it will then connect here. So it can do either way. Or you could reverse it altogether if you have like a positive side and a negative side, and you want to change the polarity of something. You then can have the electricity flow the opposite direction. Doesn't matter. And so this, depending on if you charge it or not, it'll either give you a positive or negative output. You could use this to reverse a motor if you had two of these in line with each other, and it's called an H-bridge, but we'll get to that another time. This is a buzzer. They're called like a piezo buzzer. It's kind of like a speaker, and you actually use these just like a speaker, and go from there. Once again, these are jumper wires, and these are extra header pins. These came with the Arduino, and if we wanted to like solder it onto something to connect later, we could use that for something, but right now they're unnecessary. That is it for this one. The next video we'll talk about the parts of the Arduino and how to set up a breadboard.